Hello everyone, my name is Dakota and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, we talk about everything superhero related, and in today's video, I know I just said we talk about everything superhero related, but today we're going to be talking about the Pitt, but more specifically the fandom. I've been wanting to make this video for a really long time and I've had trouble kind of putting it together, so this video is going to be a little bit different from the ones I normally do. It's going to be more in the style of a rant video because that's essentially what this is. It's a rant. But before we get started, be sure to check out my Etsy where I make really cool necklaces that you don't want to miss out on, and you can use code DAK YouTube, that's DAK YouTube, for 10% off your first order. With that out the way, let's get into the video. So happy new year to all and happy Pitt week for those who celebrate me. And before I begin, I want to give a quick disclaimer. This is no hate to anyone that I talk about in this video, or any tweets that I use, or any people who may participate in the fandom in the way that I'm criticizing today, I guess you could say. And also no hate to the actors, because this video is specifically focusing on the fandom itself. The reason why I'm putting it in this rant style is because there are new pieces of information coming out literally as I'm speaking right now. And I also will not be discussing any spoilers because somehow almost the entire season 2 has been spoiled by the press. We'll get into that in a minute, but I will not be discussing any spoilers because I try to avoid spoilers myself, so you are safe here. So the number one thing that I want to talk about that I feel like a lot of people have encountered in the Pitt fandom is shipping. Now, shipping in any fandom occurs all the time, but what I feel like for the Pitt fandom is it is the only thing that people do. And hey, I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum, okay? But oh my god. Now, for me, the number one thing that I say about the Pitt when I'm recommending it to other people is how much I love it, because it focuses more on the hospital, but also includes like little tidbits of everyone's lives and you can kind of connect to the characters. But the number one thing I say about the show is how much it focuses on the medical aspect. And as someone who has family members who are in the medical field and someone who is currently in school to be in the medical field, I love that about this show. And you know, I often compare it to Grey's Anatomy because Grey's Anatomy is another hospital show, but that one focuses more on the lives of the specific doctors and gets into, you know, certain themes that the Pitt kind of stays away from. But my number one worry with this is how shipping in the fandom is affecting the show itself, along with the press tours. Now, once again, this is no hate towards the ships. I really don't have any input on them, but the number one thing that I was thinking of this morning, I woke up thinking about this. I said, when you're watching the Pitt, you can watch two versions of the show. One version, which is the one that I watched originally, is watching the show and not interacting with the fandom whatsoever. But when you watch the show and partake in the fandom activity, it is like you are watching two entirely different shows, and that can be a really good thing or a really, really bad thing. Now, my kind of take on this is I'm worried about what's going to happen in the show, whether we're going to start focusing more on the romantic relationships between the doctors and getting those moments that really came naturally but are now being forced because they see that this is what their fandom likes. So I'm really worried about that for season 2 or maybe even season 3 if they are renewed for one. I think that everyone is focusing too much on the shipping between characters and the romantic relationships between them. And, you know, that's no one's fault. I mean, as a showrunner, you should be listening to your fans of what they want to see. But there's a certain point in time where you have to separate your fandom from your show. And I think now with kind of everything going on, all the press tours and everything like that, the line between fandom and canon is blurring. And when that line begins to blur, the show loses its plot, which is why I'm very scared for it, because I love the Pitt. Like I said, this is no hate towards anything Pitt related. I'm just saying what I see as someone who is, you know, online within spaces that talk about the Pitt. So I have my iPad here. I'm just going to read off a few screenshots from Twitter that I've seen. So this first one is from No Context of Pitt, which is just a very popular Pitt fan page. And they're basically just saying they do not support journalists breaking the fourth wall. Fan spaces and what we create in those spaces are not fodder for easy clicks. I made the active choice not to include those quotes because I refuse to encourage this trend. Thanks for understanding. Which, honestly, props to them for, you know, saying this and putting this out to their fans. And it seems like a lot of people have agreed with them, and I completely agree with them and are glad that they made this choice. But this kind of goes hand in hand with something I've been seeing a lot of on YouTube recently, and that is the talk of influencers kind of mixing in with celebrities and entering the space of journalism, and how journalism is not the same as it used to be. And I'm sure everyone online has seen it, how a lot of TikTokers are interviewing celebrities now for their movies, and instead of kind of getting more information about the movie, it's more searching for viral moments. And of course, you know, that's not the goal of what press tours used to be. And like I said before, those spaces that your fans create, they should be separate from the actual show. Now, every once in a while, can you mention, oh, have you seen this fan art? Or have you heard of, you know, these fans shipping your characters together? If you want to include that question in your interview just once as a little, you know, icebreaker or just a funny moment or whatever, go ahead. I'm not saying that you can't bring it up at all to the actors, but I mean, I feel like a broken record saying this. There has to be a division between your show and your fandom, because soon enough, if that line is crossed, which it's very close, your fandom's going to start feeling different, which a lot of people on Twitter have already been saying. I've been saying this, but I, you know, like I said, I didn't really want to say anything originally because, you know, just so much stuff was coming out at the time, and even more stuff is coming out now as I'm speaking. And, you know, I was kind of like, well, am I the only one who's seeing this? But now I know I'm not the only one. This person on Twitter says, we used to be a proper society that usually kept the boundary between fanships and source material. Press needs to stop constantly asking about, and then they just list a whole bunch of the ship names. I get they're popular, but it has zero relevance to the show's message, which I 100% agree with. And like I said, The Pitt is very, very different from other medical shows. It's commonly referred to as one of the most accurate medical dramas, which is why I love it so much. And, you know, I am just so scared that with all the talk about the relationships between the characters on screen, that the show writers are going to start to focus on that more than the actual source material that we were promised from season 1. And I kind of got the idea to make this video when the teaser trailer came out for The Pitt, or I guess it was the trailer. They took so long to come out with the trailer. I think it was the official trailer, and McKay said something like she couldn't wait to get laid.
I need to get laid.
Which, yes, funny line. It could have nothing to do with what I'm talking about in today's video, but that line right there kind of triggered my mind to say, oh my god, the fandom is influencing this show writing. And it actually, you know, it kind of scared me a little bit. But like I said, it could just be a funny line. You can this is not me saying that The Pitt shouldn't have any romance in it at all. This is just me saying that there needs to be a strict, bold line between fandom and source material, as the person in the tweet before said. And I'll read one more tweet that I have that says, fandom being used for clicks and marketing is actually very upsetting. So not only is this affecting the source material, but it's also affecting your viewers. And even within their replies, they have someone saying, I've been thinking about this so much recently. It feels so different in a bad way. And over the last few years, it's been making me feel weird. To which they reply, this labor of love that we do for free should not be put in articles or used as clickbait. Which, if you've been on the Pitt Twitter recently, oh my gosh, I can't even keep up with how many Pitt articles are coming out. And it's just so much, and it's all from the fans. But the problem that I have with this is that they think that we would love this, but in reality, we're kind of uncomfortable. You're creating an uncomfortable environment for your fans, which is something that you do not want in your show. We now have to worry about something we say on Twitter getting thousands, hundreds of thousands of likes or views being used as source material in a show. Just let that sit. But anyways, this video is really just to call attention to this and to kind of harbor that group of people who are siding with me saying that this needs to be stopped. Now, I'm not saying that you can't ship characters. I'm not saying that you should stop shipping characters. I'm not saying that you should stop posting about the Pitt, because everybody loves the Pitt, regardless of how many spoilers are coming out about season 2, which honestly, I don't know how the way the press is spoiling this show is concerning. But anyways, even an actor from the Pitt himself has said that some of the Huckle Robbie, which is a ship between Robbie, Dr. Robbie, and Dr. Whitaker, has made him uncomfortable. I mean, I really don't know what they expect these actors to say when people are coming to them with ship names and have you seen the fan art of this, when they really just want to talk about the love of their craft. They spend months putting together, and you know, the Pitt is such an emotional, taxing show. I could not even imagine how much of a weight it is on them to act it out. I mean, it really just goes to show the effect of journalism today, where beforehand we could learn more about a movie from these Pitt interviews of ship names and seeing if the actors know of fan art or TikTok edits. That's not getting anyone to know more about the Pitt or want to watch the Pitt more. I've seen countless TikToks of people saying, I watched the Pitt and I don't know where all these ship names came from, which honestly, I felt the same way. When I first watched the Pitt, I watched it without engaging on social media entirely. I did not post one thing about the Pitt. I sat down and I binge watched the Pitt in like 2 days because I love the show so much. But it really makes you feel like you are watching an entirely separate show from the people within the fandom. And like I said, that could either be a really good thing or a really bad thing. But when you start to separate the show from the fandom, and the fandom is starting to make you not enjoy the show as much as you would have, that's when you start to have a problem, which is why I'm starting to fear for the next season and, you know, how much stuff is coming out. And there's so many people that are, you know, ecstatic about how much the writers are listening to the fans, and that is great. That is so great, but it's also affecting those fans who aren't really, how do I want to say this? It's affecting those fans who aren't really in that fandom space online, who are just watching to enjoy the show. And like I said, it's a touchy subject. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any romance in the Pitt at all. I'm not saying that people shouldn't post what they want about their favorite shows. I'm really criticizing the journalists who are conducting these interviews and pulling from us, the fans, as their only source of material. This has nothing to do with the fans. This is all on those who pull from the fans, and we are just suffering from the consequences. I guess what I'm trying to say is this just all goes to show how much journalism is truly changing right before our eyes. The Pitt fans are now in this kind of awkward space where you don't know if you should be saying something online, if someone's gonna pull from it. It's a tough spot to be in, and you know, I really can't say anything until season 2 comes out and we'll see how everything plays out. I still have a lot of faith in the Pitt. I still think that I'm going to enjoy season 2. My main thing with this video is just I am worried for what's to come and how much those writers are pulling from the fans, because sometimes it could be too much. I'm going to just flat out say it. Sometimes the fans want stuff that is just, it doesn't really make sense for it to happen, but we all want it to happen because, you know, why not? You know? Yeah, that's really all I have to say. I really just wanted to bring attention to this and state my opinion, and it's just so much to take in. I don't really even want to be on the Pitt Twitter. I really don't. And it sucks to say, and I guess I've never really experienced this in a fandom that I've been a part of. Like, I've been a part of the Marvel fandom for years now, posting Marvel content and all that. And I've never really been a part of a fandom where I don't want to interact with everyone, which is, you know, it kind of changes your perspective of the show itself, which it shouldn't, but, you know, that's how digital spaces are now. Everybody talks about whatever show you're currently watching or a movie, and that kind of influences your public opinion. If you see a whole bunch of people on Twitter talking about how bad a movie is, it's likely that you'll be persuaded not to see the movie. Now, should it be that way? No, because there are definitely a lot of movies that have been trashed on Twitter and in any online space that have actually ended up being pretty good movies. But the thing is, those movies that have been trashed for being so-called bad by the internet, they suffer because they don't do well in the box office. So like The Pitt, when you start to kind of blur the line between your fans and your source material, and your fans start to feel like they're being used, then they're going to feel a sort of way when they're watching the show. So in order for me to just fully enjoy the show, I think I'll definitely still post, you know, my own stuff about The Pitt. I just think that I'm going to kind of take a step back from the fandom, I guess you could say, which, you know, the Pitt fandom needs to be studied. I will say that the Pitt fandom needs to be studied. Like, oh my gosh, I guess I just felt like I had to make a video about this because I have seen nothing like it. It boggles my mind. Also, I'm like looking up at my monitor right now. I realize that I'm wearing black on a black chair. I hope that doesn't bother you. If you walk away with anything from this video, walk away with this. The fans are not here for your source material. If you're a journalist and you want to conduct an interview, or you get the chance to conduct an interview, I should say, pull from your own material. Yes, you can use the fans, you know, to build that connection, but you really should be pulling from your own source material and getting the actors to talk about the thing they love, which is acting, and creating that art and learning more about the show. I have mentioned this before. I've seen it in many videos talking about journalism nowadays, and your press tours should really be getting people to want to watch your show or movie. I can't remember the last press tour I watched where I was like, wow, I really need to watch this movie now. I don't know. Now, I can say there has been some press tours that have turned me away from movies, and that's because of all the TikTok-centered questions. And originally, I kind of try and stay away from that because I do make a lot of TikTok content, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, and I think a lot of people have come very far from TikTok, and I'm not one of those people that I say, oh, TikTokers ruin everything or whatever, and they shouldn't be in celebrity spaces, because I don't think that's true. But I think these TikTok centered questions where it's like asking Pedro Pascal if he's a daddy or a zaddy, those viral moments are okay. They happen naturally. But when you're kind of like digging for that and you're trying to, I don't know, get Harrison Ford to say 6'7", that's where I kind of draw the line, where it's obvious that you're digging for these viral moments. What are we really doing? What are we promoting? I thank you all for listening if you made it to the end. At the end of the day, I love The Pitt. 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 I can't even begin to describe how much I love that show. Even to me, as someone who's not in the medical field yet, the show just seems so accurate. And I know a lot of doctors have reacted to the show and proven that it is very accurate. And not only is it accurate, like, medical terminology wise, but also accurate, like, life wise. Like, it's just so refreshing to see a show that is reflecting real life in a way, I guess you could say. But yeah, I love The Pitt. And this video is not to hate on anyone from The Pitt or any writers from The Pitt, because I know they work hard. This video is literally just me saying what's on my mind and voicing what's being talked about within this fandom space. But that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Because that's okay too. I'm posting pretty consistently on Instagram as well, so go ahead and check me out on Instagram. You can see how I made this Pitt hoodie. And yeah, I love The Pitt. I will continue to love The Pitt. How many times can I say I love The Pitt? Every person I see, I'm like, Do you want to watch The Pitt? My family is probably so tired of me asking if we can watch The Pitt together. Honestly, how many shows nowadays are putting out 15 episodes? Props to them for putting out 15 episodes, because nowadays we're seeing what, 8 episode seasons? You thought I was gonna say 6 or 7, didn't you? No, we're seeing seasons of like 6 or 8 episodes, and we get excited when there's 9 episodes. I mean, come on, what happened to 25 episode seasons, guys? But no, The Pitt, 15 weeks. 15. 1 episode a week. Who else is doing it like them? But yeah, I love The Pitt. Thank you all for listening to me rant about The Pitt. I definitely will be making more videos about The Pitt, and maybe remaking this video once the dust settles and everything comes out that is being talked about right now. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Happy Pitt release week. I'm so excited.